Welcome to Face to Face, connecting theater makers to the public, a program from the Legacy Theater and socialdistancetheater.org.
Hi, my name is Colin Sheehan, and welcome to another episode of Face to Face. Today's guest made his Broadway debut in Hairspray and has also appeared in, get ready folks, let me take a big breath, The Little Mermaid, Ragtime, Hair, Beautiful, Les Mis, Shuffle Along, The Lion King, In Transit, and The Book of Mormon. Please welcome Arbender J. Robinson.
Hey, hello. It's
just hearing that resume, you must be like, really? Pinch me. Have I done all that?
It's completely insane. It always sounds better when someone else reads off the list of credits because for me, I just feel like I'm this actor pounding the pavement, hitting auditions, trying to make it happen and make it work, and being nervous every day. But when someone else reads it off, I'm like, oh yeah, I did that. Yes. Okay. Yes. Awesome. Yay.
You
Hooray.
did it. So how are you holding up, and where have you been quarantining?
So lucky for me, I actually live in Stamford, Connecticut. So, which is a 45-minute train ride or drive into the city. So I've been quarantining at home, and because I'm in Stamford, I just have lots of outdoor space. So I kind of feel like I've just been on a vacation for a couple months meaning 6, but anyways, yeah, so that's where I've been. And how am I holding up? I mean, fairly well, I think, considering the situation that we're in, but I just try to stay positive and keep myself active every day in some kind of way and do something theater related every day, and it gets me through. You know, we'll figure it out. We're all in this together, so I'm fine.
Yeah. Well, you have been in a million Broadway shows, and I want to know, when did you realize you wanted to become a performer, and what ultimately brought you to New York City?
Awesome. This is a great question. So when did I realize I wanted to be a performer? In an ideal world, I would love to say I was 5 years old, I saw a show and said, Mom, I want to be a performer. But that really wasn't the case for me. So I think performing realized they wanted me before I realized that I wanted to perform. Because when I was in 8th grade, I was failing a math class, and my 8th grade teacher said, hey, for extra credit, you can do this play. And I was like, great, I'll do the play, right? And that was kind of cool. Then I'm in high school, and my high school drama director kept coming to me saying, no, don't audition for that role, audition for this role. And so she kept pushing me to do larger roles and bigger things, even though I wanted to just hide in the background. So theater kind of found me that way. And then when it came time to start applying for colleges, at the last minute, all of my plans kind of fell through. And all of a sudden, this nun calls me on the phone talking about some school in La Crosse, Wisconsin that has money for me based on my test scores. And the only major that the school had that I was interested in, because they didn't have pre-law, they didn't have journalism, and they didn't have creative writing. So I was like, okay, theater? And they were like, yes, we have that. So I was like, okay, great, I'll do theater. So theater kind of found me all along the way. And I just went along for the ride and put in the work and the struggle, and it kind of paid off. So yeah, that answers
wow.
that question.
Not you, the typical, I came out of the womb tap dancing, or at 5 years old, I knew what I wanted to be. But that's great. Everyone has a different story.
Thank you. And also, I think also, I'm sure there was a part of me in the background that really wanted this, but I'm not sure that part of me was strong enough and brave enough to admit that it's what I wanted, because it's impossible. It's so difficult, right? And I don't think I just really allowed myself to dream this dream. But I'm living the dream, so it works out.
Speaking of living the dream, I know you have originated some roles on Broadway, but you've also been an understudy, a swing, a standby. Can you explain to our viewers what's the difference between those tracks?
Awesome. So this is the easiest way that I'll explain the difference between like a swing, a standby, an understudy, a cover, all that kind of stuff. So you go into the theater and you see a show. And you open up the playbill and it says, we'll take Lion King. The role of Mufasa, normally played by A, will now be played by B. So that person B is either going to be a standby or an understudy, right? And then the person that is in the building that now takes over who person B used to be in the show is probably going to be a swing. So if you have a principal role in the show, there'll be a standby or an understudy that will cover that person, that will replace that person if they're sick or on vacation or have to go to their child's wedding or whatever it is, right? If that person is normally in the show every single day, then they're an understudy. If that person simply sits backstage and waits for their chance to go on as this role, then they're a standby. Wonderful. And then when we go to the ensemble of the show, those people in the ensemble that take over principal roles if someone gets sick or is on vacation or goes to their child's wedding, that person is an understudy, and the person who just sits in the theater and waits for the moment that they're called upon to replace that ensemble person is going to be a swing. So a swing can play almost any role in the ensemble. The understudy is in the ensemble and covers 1, 2, maybe 3 principal roles, and a standby sits backstage and waits just to go on for those principal roles if they're needed. So the chain of command, if a principal role goes out, they'll probably go to the standby first. If for some reason the standby can't do it, or the standby is also off or on vacation or at their child's wedding, then that understudy will go on. If it happens in the middle of a show, it'll probably be a standby, and sometimes it will be the understudy as well. So when you get that slip of paper that says so-and-so is being played by this person, know that there is a huge roulette of things that has to happen, a crazy shift in the atmosphere that has to happen in order for that one person to be able to go on. There's a whole chain of shifts that have to happen to allow for that to happen. So, and I personally like being those swings and understudies and standbys more than playing the same role every night in the show. I like that nervous energy of getting to the theater and finding out that day who I get to be. So yeah, there we go.
Well, now let's talk about auditions. I know you are one of those crazy actors that loves auditioning, but I also know that after each audition, you take notes so you can learn from them. So let's talk about that and why you do that. And then maybe, do you have a memorable audition story?
Awesome. So the audition room is really, it can be a brutal place, right? Because you got this material, hopefully days in advance, but sometimes hours in advance. You work on it really hard, and then you have that limited amount of time to convince those people in the room that you're the right pick for the role, and that for some reason you're a better pick than the 10, 15, 20, 100 other people that are going to do that exact same material in the room. So it becomes this place where you naturally leave all of your energy in the room. You invest so much in that audition. And if the answer is no, it's very difficult to not take that personally, even though oftentimes it has nothing to do with you, right? I wanted someone 6'6" and you're only 6'2". Sorry, you're not going to get the role, right? So I started doing something. I started keeping a journal with me. And I would always just write little goals for myself before I went into the audition room, right? My goal is to accomplish this, or my goal is to do this, or my goal is to not have this happen, or whatever it is, right? So that when I leave the room, I can immediately celebrate the fact that I've accomplished my immediate goals. So I already win, whether they cast me or not. And then I always ask myself a question after the audition: what did I learn? What did I discover? So that entire process, learning the material the night before, stressing myself out, getting to the audition space, auditioning, leaving the room, that entire process becomes something about me, something personal for myself. So I'm always winning, I'm always gaining, I'm always learning, and I'm always growing. And the decisions that they make in the room now have less value in terms of like my self-esteem or my self-worth, because I've already accomplished something, I've learned something, I have things I can go back and review, so I win. And if they call and say, hey, you got the part, or hey, you got a call back, oh great, that's icing on the cake, and then I can continue on from there. So it was just a way for me to take the power back in the room and just shift the focus so that the audition became something that I could look forward to and that I can celebrate and that I can enjoy. So that's kind of that idea. Now, taking the idea of a famous audition story or fun audition story, I will say this: most of my auditions, especially on Broadway, have been interesting because for one reason or another, uh, I'm not the person that books things right away. Lion King, for example, I auditioned like 36 times over the course of 15 years before they actually said yes. In Transit, Broadway's first a cappella musical, I think I was in for that show like 9 times, right? I was in first for person A, didn't get it. Then I went in for person B, didn't get it. Then I went in to understudy person A, didn't get it. Then I went in to understudy person B, didn't get it. Then I went in to understudy both person A and B and be the dance captain, and then I got it. So it was this long chain of no, 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 yes, and yes being this major thing. But I think if I had to tell a story about a great audition story, it would be my audition for Hairspray, which is what I made my Broadway debut doing. Long story short, I was living in Orlando, Florida at the time. I was going through what is probably going to be considered the worst time of my life. It was a breakup, the worst time of my life. I got upset. I went to the airport and said, New York or LA right now. There happened to be a flight to New York. Great. I get to New York, call the only person that I know in the city. And that person just happened to be at an audition for Hairspray when I called. So I had the cab driver take me to Ripley Greer Studios where they were auditioning for Hairspray. And I said, I'll audition while I'm here, right? I get a call back to come back and sing for the show. I don't have a music book, so I borrowed the book of the person who's behind me in line, find a song in the book that I know, Dancing in the Street. I sing that. I'm leaving the audition room. They're like, hey, you forgot your book. I was like, it's not mine. It belongs to the person behind me, right? Then I get a call back to come back and act. I'm acting the scene in like completely the wrong way. The character is talking about someone being in a tower, and I played it like Rapunzel was in a tower that has nothing to do with the scene. I didn't even know. They're laughing, I'm laughing, who knows? So every step of the way, what I did for this audition process was completely wrong, and that show ends up being my Broadway debut because of this whirlwind, crazy audition experience that began with like the worst day of my life and turned into like the huge turning point in my life. So like how I said, theater found me, that's another example of how like the theater world just took me on a journey and I just followed. So
yeah, what a great story and crazy story. And you're like, well, we broke up, but look, I got my Broadway debut. So who's laughing now?
Exactly. So it's crazy. But I think the entire journey, this entire theater journey has been events like that. And when I talk to other people, sometimes, especially in this world, we just have to get out of our own way and allow the universe to take us on the path that we're supposed to be on, and then we just have to be prepared for it when it actually happens, right? So who knew that when I stepped off the plane, I'd be walking into an audition for Hairspray, but my experiences up to that point prepared me for that kind of an activity to happen, right? And then who knew that I would get a call back to sing, but my experience up to that point prepared me to be able to look at a song and be like, I can sing it, let's go. So
well, let's talk about your experiences up to that point. What did you do pre-Broadway, pre-New York?
Oh, cool. So I came to Broadway in 2003 and I graduated from my undergrad in 1998. So I had a couple years where I was working regionally. I did a few cruise ships. I was a vocalist for the Walt Disney Organization for a while. So I had been working and doing regional theater here and there. Even while working at Disney, I still did local theater and community theater and some professional theater in Orlando and Daytona Beach and things like that. So I was always working. In fact, when I got to my first day of rehearsal for Hairspray on Broadway, the associate director was best friends with someone I had done a show with in Fort Lauderdale. The show was horrible, but the experience kind of linked a few things here and there. So people talk about networking and who you know and what your experiences are. So I spent all the time doing that before I ended up in New York, instead of doing the route where I finished school and go straight to New York. So again, I think it was because I was afraid and didn't believe enough in my talent. It just needed more experience, needed more, I don't know, like more groundedness in my work. And I got that by working pretty much all over the country in different parts of the world before coming to New York. So,
well, that certainly paid off for you.
yeah, I did. I think so. I mean,
yeah. Here on Face to Face, we like to give our viewers a little peek behind the curtain. So I'm going to ask a few questions to get the inside scoop. What was your worst onstage mishap?
Worst onstage mishap? It's got to be Hairspray again, Broadway debut, when I actually fell into the orchestra pit.
Did you hurt any instruments?
I hurt no instruments, and the only thing that I hurt was my ego and my spirit. But other than that, everything else was fine.
When was it? When was it during the show?
So it's during You Can't Stop the Beat.
Of course.
And there's this moment where everyone is on stage dancing, and there's this ramp that kind of goes around the orchestra pit. And there's a moment where everyone on stage like turns up stage and does this big run around the entire ramp and then goes back to their spot, and then they all continue dancing, which is fine. I had been in the show now for about a year. I had done it this way the entire time. And what I didn't realize is right before that moment, because I'm on the ramp, I was cheating slightly and turning my body just a little bit to kind of see where I was going. So when it was time to go, I could safely go. And our choreographer, Jerry Mitchell, came one day to do a brush up rehearsal. And he told me, he said, "Hey, Arbender, you're ruining this moment." I said, "Why?" He says, "Because you're peeking down and looking at where you're going. And so you're ruining the surprise for the audience. Everyone should be forward. And then all of a sudden, everyone boom, shoots up stage and runs around this ramp, and it looks really dangerous, and the audience gets nervous, and it keeps them engaged in that moment of the show. It's the finale. It should be exciting." And I was like, okay, great. Note taken. Don't look down. Don't look back. Wonderful. So for a year, I had been used to doing the number, turning my body slightly as I see where I'm going, and then going from here to there and going. So I take the note mentally. I'm like, "No, Arbender, stay straight forward." Now my body is used to going from here to there, and now I'm staying forward. So my body is used to going from here to there. So when I went to turn and go, because I didn't do that little cheat in my body, I only turned a little bit. So boom, immediately into the pit. And then my nervous energy told me, get out of the pit right away. So I'm climbing out of the pit, and the entire company is doing this run around the pit. So the only thing everyone can do to draw attention to me, I guess, was to jump over my body as I'm pulling myself out of the pit. Then I pull myself up off the ground, crying, trying to sing this happy finale, even though I'm completely sad and embarrassed. But a few friends were in the audience. They said they really didn't notice, but I think they were just trying to make me feel better. But yes, Arbender fell into the pit in Hairspray, which was his Broadway debut show. Yep, embarrassing moment number one, and there are millions of them. So I should write a book on embarrassing moments of Arbender on Broadway. There are millions. So yes. Well,
I do love Jerry's choreography in that song. Oh my gosh, the whole segregation, same foot, same arm. Oh my god.
Yeah, it's so crazy. And the other day I was playing on YouTube and looked up, found a bootleg video of the finale, and I kept saying to myself, how did I do that 8 times a week? Just watching it made me exhausted and like gave me anxiety. I don't know how I did it. Maybe fear, Broadway debut, fear. I don't know, but I did it then. But there's absolutely no way I could do it now. But at least I still remember the choreography. So there you go.
Yeah. Well, let's not talk about your worst onstage mishap. Let's talk about your favorite onstage moment.
My favorite onstage moment, there are so many, but I'll tell you this one. So I was in this show called Shuffle Along, which opened the same year as Hamilton. So some of you may not have heard of it because Hamilton was bigger, right? But we got close to the same number of Tony nominations. Hamilton just won. So
it was star-studded.
Oh yeah.
Audra, Billy.
Audra McDonald, Billy Porter, Brian Stokes Mitchell, Brandon Victor Dixon, Joshua Henry, Adrienne Warren, who plays Tina in the Tina Turner musical. I mean, like, it was star-studded. It was amazing. Savion Glover did the choreography. George C. Wolfe wrote and directed. I mean, it was amazing. And I had been part of this show since the beginning, since like the whole creation of the show. So the day of the Tony Awards, Billy Porter, who was one of the roles that I understudied in the show, threw his back out. So Billy made it through the Tony Awards performance, and know that the day of the Tony Awards, we're still performing. So we had a show that day, then we hopped on a bus immediately after the show and we drive up to the Tony Awards and we perform, then we go back to the theater and actually get out of costume and change and stuff. So Billy has now thrown his back out. And if you've ever thrown your back out, you know that's the worst pain in the world. Like it's crazy, it's crazy, it's crazy. So he pushed all the way through the Tony Awards. So then this is shortly after we opened. So then the next day, I get a phone call saying, yeah, Billy's back is out, and there's absolutely no way that he's going to be able to do the show today. We need you to come to the theater now so that we can rehearse you because you're his understudy, so that you could go on tonight. And I'm thinking to myself, wait, I'm going to be on stage literally opposite Audra McDonald, Brian Stokes Mitchell, Brandon Victor Dixon, Josh Henry, Adrian. Like, are you kidding me? Like, in the ensemble or in like my featured roles, like I'm good, like I know this stuff, but like, wait a minute, like I'm gonna have arguments on stage with Brian Stokes Mitchell. Like, it was the craziest thing, and it was so surreal. And like every couple moments on stage, I would look at him and say to myself, oh my goodness, I remember being young and seeing you on the Tony Awards, singing Wheels of a Dream. Like all of these like images kept kind of going through my head, and to have those stars like pretty much take me like a baby and guide me around the stage the entire time was like having all of your mentors and like all of the people that you look up to coming down like angels from heaven to like move you around. It was the most amazing thing. And for that moment to be pulled off and be successful, and for me to be asked to go on for Billy many other times after that, like that's pretty awesome. Like that was the moment where I realized, holy smokes, I'm doing this Broadway thing. So yeah, it was awesome. So that would be my greatest moment.
How long was his back out? Like how many shows did you have to do in a row?
So I think the most shows I had to do in a row would have been like 3 or 4, because he kept coming back, because we loved the show so much that we really just wanted to do it in its true form every single day. Like everyone, even our dancers, when they were injured, they fought so hard to get through it because they wanted the audience to see the true show in the way that we created it. Like no understudies, no standbys, no swings, no nothing, right? We wanted everything exactly right. So he kept coming back and pushing and pushing and pushing. But when that back went out, sure enough, I had to become Billy Porter again. And here's the thing about Billy Porter is he's amazing. And what he can do vocally, who can do that? So I had to figure out my own way of trying to mimic and recreate the magic that Billy's able to do. But I got a good song out of it, and his big number is a song that I sing in concerts all the time. So it's really, really cool. So I love it. Yay. Thank you, Billy.
Yay. So the audience gets to see all the traffic patterns and chaos sometimes on stage, but there is just as much chaos and quick changes and floors to dressing rooms backstage. Do you have a favorite backstage moment or interesting story or something panicky? I don't know.
Here's the thing about backstage. So you're exactly right in saying that, yes, there's choreography on stage, but backstage is usually just as choreographed, if not more. Because if one thing goes wrong backstage, especially on Broadway, because the spaces are tight, if one thing goes wrong, it becomes a fiasco trying to get around it and like trying to, kind of make things happen. So one story about things going wrong backstage. I'm in The Lion King. And in The Lion King, there are all of these puppets and crazy things that we have to get in and out of, all these crazy contraptions and all this stuff, and hand puppets and finger puppets and pole puppets and all these things, and huge set pieces moving and all of this stuff. And one of the first times that I was in Lion King, and I was in the elephant. If you've ever seen the show, there's a big elephant that comes down the aisle. It takes 4 people to maneuver this elephant. It takes 3 people to get the 4 people out of the elephant after the number is over. I mean, it's this crazy ordeal. And I had never been the front right leg of the elephant that also controls the way the trunk moves, just so you know. Circle of life ends. Circle of life, ingoyama, goosh, right? Lights go out. All this magic is happening, and everything is like done to a T. I'm still strapped and stuck inside of the elephant at the time that the elephant is supposed to be dragged up and then moved up and taken away forever because we never see it again.
Yeah, don't they store it in like the ceiling?
Yeah, it soars up in the sky. But I'm still strapped inside of it. I don't know how to get out. And the timing that I was supposed to use to get out of the elephant has passed. And because we're so used to everything being like clockwork, all of a sudden this elephant is moving and dragging. I'm in it. There's a scene happening on stage, so I can't scream. I'm like, I'm here. I'm here. Arbender's in the elephant, right? Try that. As they're pulling and wondering why this elephant is so heavy and they can't hook it up. I mean, it was beyond a disaster. And because of that, I then missed the next entrance and then couldn't get around for the next entrance. And when I made it to the other side of the stage for the following entrance, my costume wasn't there because I should have taken this costume off on this side, but I never even got that costume on to begin with. So it was this huge chain of events where I ended up like missing a good quarter of Act One because we were just trying to catch up from the singular mistake that I made in the opening number that ruined like the next 4 or 5 numbers for me. So yeah, I trip on stage. I have issues backstage. Like it is every day is a challenge for me on Broadway, but they keep hiring me. So I'll keep doing it.
Do you have a dream role?
This is a funny question. Do I have a dream role? So, of course, sure. But I think that answering the question honestly, my dream role doesn't exist because I want to be part of the team that helps create it, right? I want someone to write something or a friend to write something or for me to write something and then create that entire thing on me. So what is the dream role? I don't know. It doesn't exist yet, but it is definitely my dream. And in an ideal world, I hope it has something to do with mental illness because I'm so passionate about mental illness and I'm so passionate about autism awareness. So I hope it has something to do with one of those two ideas, but it doesn't exist. However, if I had to pick a dream role of something that already exists, it's definitely a dream role because for a number of reasons it cannot happen. It would ruin the entire arc of the show, but it would be Leo Frank in Parade. I want to do it. I do it all the time in my living room. I move the furniture. I play all the scenes. Like, I love it, love it, love it. Yes.
I want to watch you do it.
I want to be Leo Frank so badly, but it would ruin the entire show if I was Leo Frank for a number of reasons. So it will always be a dream role that I do in my dreams or in my living room. So there we go. Or in concert, who knows? So there we go.
Well, what about of the opposite sex? A dream role that already exists, that if you were a female, you would want to sink your teeth into that role.
Who doesn't want to be Mama Rose and Gypsy? Right? Just to like be that vulnerable and like that open and like on the edge of whatever kind of breakdown that is, and then sing Rose's turn. Like, who doesn't want that moment, right? So yeah, if I were a female, come on, give me Gypsy and some Mama Rose any day. I am ready for it at the drop of a hat. Yes, perfect. Make it happen.
I love it. I know a lot of celebrities come backstage at Broadway shows to do their photo op and meet the cast and praise the cast. Do you have a story about any celebrity that really made an impact on you?
Okay, so I'm laughing as you ask this question because if you know anyone that's in a show with me and you say celebrity and photo op, you will see Arbender get completely shy and embarrassed and nervous and kind of try to find a back way out of the theater to avoid meeting the celebrity. Not because I don't like the celebrity, but I just don't trust myself enough to not completely geek out and fan out and go completely crazy. So what most people don't know is that I'm actually kind of a shy person outside of performing. So for myself to go and meet a celebrity, like, it freaks me out. I'll peek at them from the wings. I'll be like, oh my goodness, there they are, right? But I will like run around the long way to kind of avoid it. But when Aretha Franklin came to see Hairspray, I don't know how she spotted me or how she caught me, but she full on said, "Hey, you, come here. Weren't you in the show too?" And I was like, "Oh, I was, right?" So I was forced to meet Aretha Franklin, which was really, really awesome and like so great and like a once in a lifetime experience. I'm so glad that I did it. But I need to work up the nerve to actually meet other celebrities when they come to the show. I'll peek at them from the wings and tell all my friends, so-and-so was at the show today. The other celebrity that caught me, Bill Clinton caught me that way too. It was like, "Hey, you in the show." That was at In Transit, same thing. And if you've ever met Bill Clinton, for some odd reason,
I have actually.
when he speaks to you, it really feels like he knows you. Like he's looking into your soul and like fully connecting with only you. Like it was the weirdest thing to me, but also really, really awesome. So, and his eyes are really blue. So, so there you go. Yeah.
I love how much the Clintons support the arts. I've been in the audience with them a number of times.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And it's always cool too when you're in a show and like, someone from that presidential world is coming to the show, because the way the Secret Service has to do all of their ins and outs and works and stuff, it makes you feel like really cool and fancy and special when, you know, you see Secret Service agents in the back of the theater and like clearing the space and, you know, no one can enter here and all this kind of stuff. It's pretty cool. It's pretty cool.
I worked at the Wendy Williams show for a couple of seasons. How you doing? And Michelle Obama was coming to Rachel Ray, and they share a studio space. And my office, I was in the art department, was down in the basement, but Secret Service was there. And I literally got locked in the basement. They wouldn't let me out during a live show. I'm like, I'm going to get fired. Oh my gosh. But that was amazing. Just being in the same building with Michelle.
That's how it works, though. That's how it works. And like everyone has to be on a list and like all the names, and everyone has to have a background check. It's crazy what happens for, you know, someone of that stature to just walk into your building. It's crazy.
Yeah, I was actually at Hair in the park when the Clintons came. Were you in that cast?
I did not do it in the park. I joined, so the park cast or the park show went to Broadway at the Hirschfeld. And then when people started going on vacation, I was hired to come in and cover people as they went on vacation. Then that cast, the park cast, Hirschfeld, that cast then went to London. And then I was hired to help set the new cast that was replacing the Broadway cast. And then I became the dance captain for that cast as well. So, yeah. But I didn't do it in the park.
So when I was there, I mean, I dealt with the Secret Service on a number of occasions, so I knew someone important was coming, but I didn't know who. But like you saw them all, you know, at the front of the stage observing, and the orchestra played some patriotic song or something that when a president comes in, and everyone stood up, went crazy. It was the day like after she announced she was running or something. Everyone went crazy.
Yeah, it's intense. It's also like cool when stage management tells you that so-and-so is coming to the theater, but you can't tell anyone. So then like you're sitting on this secret all day long, like, when's it gonna leak? And then you just keep like checking online to see when is it actually going to be released to the press that so-and-so's here. And then you're like, oh, I knew hours ago. So yeah, it's pretty cool. Like, yeah, it's just cool to be on the inside of something like that. So
yeah. My last round of these inside scoop questions, but really just to get to know you a little bit better, is that typical, if you could go to dinner with 3 different people, dead or alive, who would it be and why? You could choose if these are people you've met before or if it's people you haven't. Just 3 different people at a dinner table, maybe at Joe Allen.
All right, so 3 different people. So everyone's gonna laugh at this one. Cyndi Lauper. Like, I think Cyndi Lauper, like, ever since I was a kid, like, girls just want to have fun. Like, Cyndi Lauper has been, like, a wild card for me. So, like, Cyndi Lauper, like, I want to sit down with Cyndi Lauper. I want to get, like, inside of her head and, like, kind of figure out what's happening there, right?
You're not going to believe this.
I'm listening.
So, I worked for Rosie O'Donnell on the Our Family Vacations cruises. My 21st birthday, July 7th, some year, we're on a cruise. It's an Alaska cruise. The waters were crazy. There were 70-foot swells. Everyone was getting sick. It was very bad. But it's my 21st birthday. I need to go have a celebratory drink.
All right.
So it's myself in Spinnaker, the Spinnaker Lounge on an NCL cruise, and Cyndi Lauper. And she bought me my first legal drink.
There you go. And
I saw her true colors
shining through. And this is why I want to meet Cyndi Lauper, because it seems like she would be like the random person that you meet the day you turn 21, and that's the person that buys you your first drink, right? Cyndi Lauper. So I want to meet Cyndi Lauper. I want Cyndi Lauper on my right. And if Cyndi Lauper is on my right, here's what Oprah has to be on my left, because it's like two completely different worlds, right? So I'm sitting between Cyndi Lauper and Oprah. And then because I'm a male actor, it's a toss-up. It's a toss-up between Jamie Foxx and Denzel Washington, right? Now, in my book, they're on the same level acting-wise, but we associated Jamie Foxx with comedy before we associated Denzel with comedy, right? Denzel was drama and Jamie Foxx was comedy, but we see in recent movies, Jamie Foxx can also do drama. So it's a toss-up between the two of them. So whoever answers the phone first will be the third person. But that would be like my triangle of like, let me have dinner. And I will try very hard not to freak out and like turn into a fan. But I think that would be awesome. Just to hear Cyndi be like, yo, Denzel, or yo, Mr. Fox, how are you? Like, I can't imagine.
Oh, it's a little higher in that New York accent.
Yeah. And then just have Oprah there just moderating some other sides. Yeah, that would be awesome. That would be awesome. So make it happen. Make it happen.
I will. And I feel like I love you so much more just because of those 3/4 people you picked.
Awesome.
We've been emailing a bunch, and I see at the bottom of your email, you have some quotes. One is from Walt Disney, which is all our dreams come true. All our dreams come true if we have the courage to pursue them.
There we go.
And the other one is by you, dream big because sometimes they come true, which reminds me of when I was at Wagner College, Anne Rankin came and she started out her workshop with all of your dreams come true. They just may not come true the way you dreamed them to. Right. So it's clear that you are big into dreaming, and we could tell this from our conversation today. What dreams do you still have that you wish would come true?
Ooh, what dreams do I have that I wish would come true? This is a tough one because one, I am a dreamer, but I think in my dream world, things are realistic. They just don't always happen, right? Like, you know, we all dream for like world peace, and we dream for equality, and we dream for, you know, everyone to be happy. But if there were a dream that I wanted to come true, I think I wish there was a way to like safely, and not by calling on any strange spirits, to like really be able to have conversations with people that have gone before you. And this is a cool thing that I started thinking about after doing Lion King, because in Lion King, you know, Mufasa tells Simba, you know, look at the stars. These are all the kings that have come before you, and all that kind of good stuff. And when you need them, look up, they'll be there. You can call on them. And in the South African cultures that we studied in rehearsing for Lion King, that becomes a huge fabric of what the chant is about. All the chants that you hear, Ingonyama Name or Ndali, all the chanting that you hear in the show is about calling on the spirit of all those ancestors. And I just wish that there was a way that we could just do that when we need it. You know what I mean? Be like, hey, I don't know, I'll pick someone, you know, Betty Boop, I don't know, or like Marilyn Monroe, right? I know you moved on, but in this moment, I think Marilyn Monroe would know exactly what to do, and we could somehow just be like, Marilyn Monroe, let's have a quick conversation. How would you handle this? Great, and now I know how to handle this situation. Like in my dream, I think that would be, this is so crazy and wild, I think that would be what I would want to have happen. And I think now I need to make sure that starts happening in my dreams, because the only thing I can do in my dreams is fly, but like that talent is getting old. So if I could just call on people from the past, that would be awesome. So I think right now that would be my dream, which is kind of far-fetched and out there, but it's a dream. And my model now is like dream big. So that's my big dream. There we go. Done.
I love it. This has been amazing. Thank you so much for doing this interview today. We hope to see you soon at the Legacy Theater, and we'll see you on the next episode of Face to Face.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you for joining us on Face to Face. We would like to thank our sponsors, Oak Tree Development and the Community Foundation for Greater New Haven, and Brad Ross for the themed music. You can follow us on legacytheaterct.org.